Attorney at law Nicole Gordon has expressed that she is in support of suggestion by the Independent Jamaica Council for Human Rights for the tribunal that is to be established when the sexual harassment bill becomes law, to have the discretion to hear complaints beyond the 12-month limit. Ms. Gordon is of the view that some victims of sexual harassment may delay filing a complaint within the stipulated time frame due to the intimidation and mental trauma.
I think what is critical in the legislation, and I think what ought to be critical in the policies of the organizations that have to follow the legislation, is that it ought to be clearly stated that if a report is made outside of the stipulated period, it is not in and of itself to be a bar to proceeding with the hearing. Right. And I think that all of the policies and again the legislation ought to say in very, very clear terms that there is supposed to be some discretion in extenuating circumstance. If the person can prove that shame that you talk about, the shame is across the board. It can be the powerful or the powerless. The shame is there.
In the meantime, social activist Latoya West Blackwood has suggested that the tribunal that will hear cases of sexual harassment should comprise of mental health experts. She says this is important to ascertain why some victims may delay filing a complaint with the tribunal.
The whole matter of revisiting the tribunal and looking at issues such as where is the clinical perspective in the context of that tribunal, looking at what are some of the mental health and other factors that would influence the whole matter of reporting and the whole time limits that whether there's a limit or not, how we're going to be framing these discussions. It can't just be a matter of how we feel. We have to remember as well that we're operating in a context where some of the people who might be even putting forward a point in this discussion might be themselves afraid of, where this might go in terms of discussions around time limits and the actions of persons who might be known to them in terms of influential or powerful people who might be impacted.
Ms. West Blackwood says reports of sexual harassment must be taken seriously to encourage other victims to come forward.
We need to be very honest in these discussions, and we need to talk about let's take it that we're talking about this 1 year and, the reporting, etc., and encouraging more people to speak up. But what's been the case in terms of when people do speak up? What has been the level of enforcement outside of even the bill which is before the parliament now? What have been the attitudes? We have to talk about the attitudes from not just we're talking about sexual harassment in the workplace, etc., but outside of that, even in the matter of reporting, though sexual harassment is not a criminal act as it is now, even the attitudes in terms of formally reporting it, saying to an authority, whichever body, that I am in this position, what is happening now?
Both ladies made their contributions while speaking Sunday on Radio Jamaica's weekly news review program, That's a Wrap. Kerry Ann Goldstone for Frontline News.